Hi, everyone. This is Tammy Eisenreich. I'm a parent partner for the Lucas County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and I know it's Friday, but this is our last grant workshop that we're doing for 2022. And I'm super excited to have Stefanie from Lilly's Voice on here today to talk with us about her amazing organization. Welcome, Stefanie.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, to start off, I would love to hear your journey a little bit. I know Lily's your daughter. So tell us,
Yes.
how did you ever think that you'd be starting a nonprofit that gives devices, AAC devices to other children?
I didn't, but I'll give you a little background on kind of how it all started. So yes, Lily is my daughter. I'm absolutely obsessed with her. She's the most amazing kid ever, as far as I'm concerned. She is 10 years old. She's autistic. She's non-speaking. She also has apraxia. We started, seeking diagnosis, I want to say around like 8 to 10 months old. We were very aware that, she was just not doing the things that they said in the baby book. And so we were just asking around and started seeking diagnosis. She was diagnosed very, very young. And we started therapy and speech therapy, did all the things. She was non-speaking, entirely. There were no words. And so at around like 2.5, I heard about an AAC device. And my husband and I are both technical by background. He's a programmer. I'm an engineer. We're both total dorks. So we were like, you know what, we could do this ourselves. We'll just figure out what's out there. We'll buy it, because insurance wasn't helping. There were no Instagram accounts sharing or Facebook groups, or TikTok didn't exist. There was nothing out there to tell us anything, and no speech therapists or any therapist saying, hey, you should get this. So we did our own research. We bought an iPad. We bought an app that we heard was the best one after researching. I configured it myself. I did everything wrong. Like everything that I'm always preaching about, do not do this today, is what I did. But I quickly realized that that wasn't the right way to go about it. Kind of redid things and taught our daughter how to communicate on her device, before she turned 3. And she, took to it very quickly. She was very technical, and has always had a method of communication. It doesn't mean that she was speaking in paragraphs, and it still doesn't mean that she's like sitting there completely conversational. She still is who she is, but she's always had a method of communication. And I believe that that has been the greatest thing that we ever gave her, at a very young age, and consistently growing the device with her. And now she has vocal words at 7.5. She got vocal words. And so now she kind of has a mix of both, but she still has apraxia. So it's not like the vocal words are reliable. But anyways, my cousin last year, so about 18 months ago, heard about me raising funds to try to buy a device for a friend, because I've been helping people on Instagram for a couple of years with AAC and just general things related to autism, just trying to be, part of the good out there and helping the community. And she questioned why I would possibly do that. Why aren't these devices free? And I told her that while they should be, they aren't. Not everyone can get access through insurance or through school or through a therapist or through a doctor. There's a million ways you should be able to get access, but not everyone can. And so some people just buy it out of pocket, do it on their own. And then there are those who can't afford it out of pocket. And that's really not fair to their children. It's not their fault that all the systems are failing them and that their parents might not have a charge card they can put it on. Like, that's not fair. So my cousin said, well, then let's start a nonprofit and let's do it ourselves. And that is basically where Lily's Voice came from. And we've been around for, like I said, a little over 18 months, I think. And as of yesterday, we've given out 192 devices in training.
That is awesome. Oh,
Yes,
that is awesome. I mean, especially
we're trying.
during this time that we're in right now with COVID and, or, the
Yes,
residual effect of all of that. So that's wonderful.
thank you.
See, the little powerful engine that could. That's awesome.
We're just trying our best. We didn't realize it would be as busy as it is. Our goal was to get out one AAC device a month. I do all the phone calls, I do all the training, I do all the materials. She does all the business, I do all the fundraising. We both work full time, and I homeschool my kid. And so I was like, okay, one a month. That's a good one. And then it ended up being more than 10 a month, and just a little busy,
That's awesome.
but worth it.
Do you
Worth
mind
it.
if I pull up your application? Or I'll go to
No,
your
go ahead.
website first and we'll start there a little bit just to kind of give families, where am I? Oops, there's your Facebook page. Okay. So do you see it? Just to make sure.
Mhm.
Okay. So you talk about AAC, and a lot of families, I get asked, oh, I need help with an iPad. So just to reiterate, your organization specifically is for augmentative alternative communication, correct? Or
Correct.
assistive?
Yeah,
Yes,
communication only.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So well, we'll get into it. I was going to say, do you require that you mentioned the training with it. So what about the families that have speech pathologists that
Uh-huh.
have trialed multiple options with them and said, yes, this is the one that you should get? And granted, they try to go through their insurance and they get
Mhm.
denied, which we hear often. Um, is that okay? I mean, reading it, you're definitely looking for those underserved population, which is amazing. But can a
Yeah.
family that has struggled, that has tried to go through, jump all the hoops from insurance and does have a private speech path that's more than happy to maybe help them, but wants to put lamp on it, not Proloquo to go.
Oh,
Is that something that you would?
yeah, absolutely. So basically we're trying to help anyone. And I mean like anyone who fits the criteria of they have a child who needs it. They have tried to get it by some other means. They have not been successful or they've been massively delayed. I mean, like someone who's been added to a wait list and they're sitting around being told it's going to be a year before your child can even that's delayed and that's just too much. There's no reason to wait.
Mhm.
And someone who can't afford it on their own, they apply with us. Doesn't matter if they have a speech therapist. It's great if they do. Some have awesome speech therapists who tell them to go to us that I talk to, and some don't. We let them choose the app that they think is the best fit for their child. So just because my daughter uses Proloquo to go doesn't mean I think every child is going to need Proloquo to go. But I do require that parents do research on the apps and I send it out and tell them where to look for things, in order to determine what's going to be the best device for their child. If a speech therapist said, hey, I want to put lamp on this, I might tell the parents that they have to ask why, because not because I'm anti-lamp, but because lamp isn't for everyone. And so I want to know the reason. Is it because the child trialed it and did amazing? Is it because the motor planning is more important than the customization? Like why? And if there is no reason other than the speech therapist I talked to said they liked it, well, then I'm going to tell the parents, well, you need to pick a device based on your child because you're going to program it, you're going to customize it, you're going to own it. So it needs to be what works for you guys, not what works for some therapist,
Okay. No, I
which I
can.
think is most important.
Right, and they could change therapists. I know,
Yeah.
we have a lot of military families that you're
Mhm.
relocating every 2 years. So you could be getting a new speech pathologist every
Yeah.
2 years. So, and even as they go through school, I
Yeah.
kind of think my son we were lucky for kindergarten through second grade, we had the same speech path. But after
Mhm.
that, every year he'd had a different, speech pathologist at school. So privately, we
Yeah.
had our same one, but so,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Well,
let's take
and
a
they're
look.
not around all the time. So like you can't base a decision for your child's life on someone who's only going to see them an hour once a week or once every other week. You need to base it on your child.
Right. Well, and the other
And
thing you
yeah.
run into, speech pathologists might only have access to one. I know we
Mhm.
find a lot of centers or schools, districts don't have a budget for apps. So they
Yep.
might get a copy of LAMP, Touch Chat, whatever, Proloquo to go, and that's the only app they have. And I agree fully. You can't, every child's individual and what they're going to be receptive to. So good.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Mhm.
the thought is if they can reach out to their speech path, they should. Their
Mhm.
doctor, insurance
Try a
company.
couple
Right.
things, yeah, and I list them on the application.
Yep.
Like, try these first, please, because if you can get a free device, get one. Or if you can afford it on your own, I'll still send you all my training. I'll help you. It doesn't matter. I just where the funding comes from. Let's make sure we're saving our funding for people who really can't afford it and really have no other options.
I get it. And
Everybody
some
like
parents
nice.
don't think about their insurance. Believe it or not, it's interesting. I think when you have a handicap, um, disabled child, they automatically their mind kind of goes more to equipment with ramps
Mhm.
and bathroom modifications and home modifications. But I think a lot of children at that young age, nonverbal, autistic, even Down syndrome, they don't always think about what their insurance can help with when it comes to like durable medical equipment. And
Mhm.
at least putting it out there, it might turn that light on. Oh, I haven't thought about our insurance yet. So I definitely think that's a good thing for them to consider. Okay, so you have age
Mhm.
2 to 18. parent's name, address, Instagram user, is that required? And I did see it was,
is.
that's why I'm asking.
So if someone says I don't have one, when I end up talking to them, I ask them to get one. And the reason why is because we have a really good AAC community on Instagram of parents who share what their children are doing. They make AAC highlights, they do how-tos, of autistic adults who will answer questions and share information, and some amazing speech therapists. So like, just because someone has a private speech path doesn't mean that person is an AAC expert. But there are AAC experts on Instagram who share amazing information, and it would be a disservice to any family with an AAC device not to be on Instagram and not to be following the accounts I provide them or that they find on their own, because there's just so much information out there. So it becomes one of those things of, even if you don't have it, I'm going to make you get one, because it's a wealth of knowledge.
And it can be private. I mean, you don't have
Yeah.
to like all your friends. I mean, if you're going to make it exclusively dedicated to this AAC journey that you're on, I mean, definitely it wouldn't.
Right.
It's a
And
resource.
it's
Okay.
about access. It's not about you have to share your child. Like we have people who, when we do end up helping them get devices, a lot of our families tell us, like, I don't want you to share my kid's picture. And I say, okay. That's not why we do it anyway. It just helps get donors when they see the cutie kids that are getting it.
I hear you. Yep. Okay. So cell phone, explain your child's diagnosis. Is there any diagnosis you wouldn't cover? I mean, if they're nonverbal, what if it was an injury? What if it wasn't?
No, we've helped with anything. Honestly, a lot of our questions are about making sure that we're getting real applicants. We've had a few that just want a free iPad.
A Toys R Us giveaway, I know.
Yeah. And so a lot of these, we don't discriminate. Like there's no, oh, this isn't good enough. I mean, if we did have someone apply, their child's autistic, but fully communicational, like no issues with communication, but they didn't have an educational iPad. And I was like, well, that's not what an AAC is. You're going to have to go find someone else. So we ask these questions, like very specific, trying to make it to lead people to what we do.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So if they don't know what AAC is, now granted, nowadays you can Google anything, but if their story, like you said, it was educational, you could definitely tell that. So that would not be something you would cover.
Yeah.
And then explain why you were denied or delayed. I mean, you just want their story, right? It's like, open up to us, give us a little bit, of
So show me that you've actually tried this before. And a lot of people, it's funny, on the application, it says, if you haven't tried these things, please stop and do these things and then come back to us, or email us if you just want help. And I get an application or two every single week of someone who doesn't read the top. And then where it says, where have you applied? I haven't. Why were you denied? I wasn't.
And you're like,
why are you applying with us?
And truly, that's why
hurried.
we started doing these, because our hope is we don't want to waste your time. And I don't want the parents that are, thinking about it wasting their time either. So it's and I always say you're not secretive about it. I think we're so used to like Social Security and insurance being all secretive. Like, well, if you mark over here, but you didn't mark here. I think the majority of true nonprofits that are helping children with special needs are very blatant and about their criteria and their what they want. And you definitely are. Your application is wonderful. So have you already
so basically, do they have an iPad at home? Because some people do have access to an iPad, or like grandma says, I'll buy an iPad, but I need help with the app or anything like that. So we ask, do you have one? Most don't, but it's, we've had a few.
Okay. Yep. And then which AAC app you'd like. And so do you load it? How does it come? Like, do you give the device and it's loaded on, or do they get a gift card?
Yeah, no, when we go through the process, so after someone applies and then it actually launches for them to schedule a call with me, and we do an intro call just again to get more information, talk about how it works. And one of the things we stipulate is you're going to be installing the app, you're going to be configuring it, you're going to be teaching your kid, we're going to give you all the tools. But when we purchase the app, we purchase it for their Apple ID. So it's not a gift card. We don't let people, unfortunately, and I don't think anyone does it maliciously, but parents get busy. And they also get confused, especially when they're trying to juggle a million things. If I sent a gift card, 50% of our devices would never get that app. And they would just become iPads.
or
kids have.
YouTube watchers is what I say, but yep.
Correct. And so
And
we buy the app and we go through stuff. So we'll get to that later. But yeah, we purchase it for the Apple ID once they show us a photo of the Apple ID that has been loaded on the iPad that we have sent. Because yeah.
oh, I'm in 18 months, it sounds like you've learned a lot. Like,
Oh, so much. A lot. Yeah.
okay. So will you have assistance? So there's no right or wrong answer there. You just want to know
Correct.
what their journey, where they're at in their, okay. What
Before
school?
my call with them, I just want to know their situation.
Okay. So what school or therapies are they currently involved in? Utilizing AACs, like learning a new language. So you're wanting them, how you want their commitment. Like how much time
Yeah.
are you willing to put in learning and modeling this for your child?
Hmm.
Is there a wrong answer to this? Could they say just
There
one
is no
more?
wrong answer. I've
Okay.
had all four. Most select the last one, of course, because intentions are always, I want to do this as much as I can. We have had a few that have told me, I only see my kid because they're in school and ABA and all these things. I only see my kid for like an hour or two. So they select the lower ones and then we just talk about it.
Okay. And then how did you hear about Lily's voice? And
Hmm.
uploading a photo.
We don't share it. It's just validation.
Got it. And so this is where you were talking about where they have to check the box about what
Yeah,
they.
well, we're reiterating. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So what we stated it up top, we're reiterating it again at the bottom. If you can afford this on your own, just let us help you. Let's not take money from someone who doesn't have the money. Like, we'll do anything to assist anyone. I was doing it for years before we had a nonprofit. We just don't want to take funds from the nonprofit for someone who can do it and afford it on their own.
Okay. And then when they submit, they get linked up to your calendar to set up a 30-minute meeting with you. Usually is it
Yeah,
within the next week, 2 weeks? Like how far?
they're totally their choice. It's based on what I have available. Like I said, I do work full time, so I have certain days I can do these calls and like certain chunks of time, and I max out. I learned a lot through the way that I have to max out how many of these calls I can do a day. That's why we did so many AACs so fast, is I was having like 5 to 10 phone calls a day and shipping out so many devices. And I was like, okay, I'm going to burn out. We're going to have to figure something out to make sure I can keep doing this. So now it's like max of 3 phone calls a day, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. So looking at this, let's go back to your website. Is there anything else you want to highlight on there? I was going to ask, have you guys, a lot of nonprofits meet and decide what their budget is going to be the coming year? Like, have you tweaked what your thought process is for 2023, or so
We
you
don't
don't
we
really
don't
have
have
deadlines, I guess is the thing.
yeah,
Some organizations give once a year because they fundraise, you know, and then they have a date that they open up their application cycles. Others give quarterly. Some give as they get. And that sounds like your
that's
application
what
is
we do.
open all the time. Okay.
All the time. Apply anytime, and we don't have any budget or goals. We raise as much money as we can. We keep a running list of kids that we're given devices for. We clean it off every single week. And we're just trying to pedal these out as quickly as we can while still having phone calls with the parents, giving training, doing everything we can to set them up. But then ultimately, they're going to make or break this experience. But I mean, the whole nonprofit is basically, I did this on my own. My cousin and I will pay for you to do it on your own too, but we'll give you all the tools I never had.
You,
That's kind
what
of
you
how it
learned
works.
from. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So the pre-training, let's see.
That stuff is actually for, so when someone applies for, this is after they've completed their info form, like we've already gone through it with them. It takes them back to this page to start watching some videos on Pro the Quota Go, if that's the app that they selected. So it's just out there if anyone wants to learn more about Pro the Quota Go. I call it required reading, because the more a parent knows about AAC and especially about the app they're using, the better they do for their kid and the better their child's going to do. So we have this stuff on our website that I send to my families because I believe in transparency and sharing. So on this website, and I have one other website where I share info. This one again is before they, after they get their iPad and before we meet to buy the app, they have to watch those videos and take a quiz. This last page here is one that I send to the families that I purchase devices for, and that I will share with any family who wants to do this on their own. It's not locked down or anything. Anyone can get here. It talks about best practices for implementing AAC device on your own. If you scroll down a little bit to halfway after these, number 8, down here at the bottom, I have tutorials and important info. So I have a YouTube library for Proloquo to go and for Touch Chat and for how to model, how to set up different things on Apple devices. And then if you scroll down a little bit further, you can see Instagram accounts that I highly recommend. And then thought processes to share with people where to go if your kid's in public school and you have an IEP. Everything I can think of that if I would have had this, I would have done such a better job for my child is on here, to make sure that people have what they need. And then I also have, which I'll be throwing on the bottom here, Spanish training for Proloquo to go, because I've now given out 3 bilingual devices. So I'm going to add that on here.
It's interesting you said that. Here in Ohio, we had some Syrian families that came. And so they actually used some template charts, not on the device, but the printed ones from, and I'm not sure if it was assistive wear or a PRC, but they to help with that because of the picture. Like universally, so many the pictures are universal. So it was just helpful to keep their, anxiety down. And you figure they're in a new place, strange place because of scary circumstances. And it was interesting. These kids didn't have a diagnosis. It was just English wasn't their first language, whatever. So there are a lot of amazing resources out there. But I see, so these are, when it says YouTube, these are all yours this content that you put together.
This bottom section is from the people who created the apps. If you scroll up a little bit, the YouTube libraries for, so for example, scroll up a little further, a little bit more. If you click on, there you go, the Proloquo one, for example, if you want to click on it, you can see this is a YouTube library I made for other parents, starting with how to set it up from scratch the second you get the app, and like what to choose and why. And then how to do guided access. And then everything underneath that is all sorts of different customizations that you can do in Proloquo to go, to help people. And I always tell the people who we give devices to, like, you might not want to do everything in all these videos yet, but watch them so you can see what the device can do. And then someday it might be like, I know I could do this. This was in there somewhere and I'll figure it out. But that way you can just get used to some of the ideas, and not be unaware of what all your child's app can do.
Yep. And they're short and sweet. It looks like it's just quick content that you can get, and having the library there is great. So they go there when they need it.
Yes, that's the idea. And we have one for Touch Chat too. It's not as big, but it only has like 5 videos. We're working on building it. I just got Touch Chat. So one of my friends, who's another mom online, has been helping me make these videos.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you. Let me see. What else was I going to show? That's us. I wanted to show your Facebook page. Let's do that. Do you find you post a lot on?
I post a lot on Instagram, and then it gets shared. It gets shared to Lily's Voice through Instagram. Facebook you use for fundraisers and stuff.
I see. How successful has that been? I've had a couple families that have asked me, is it worth doing it? Like to fundraise for an organization. Now, would Celeste, I'm asking, has she already received a device from you, or is this like a fundraiser that she could do through to you that money is going towards her device?
She already received a device from us. We make no requirements of our families to pay it forward. Hopefully they do, and a lot do. So like the one in the middle there, Heather, she is actually a mom that I met online because we both got, I got a service dog for my daughter from the organization she's getting one from. And I started helping her with AAC, and then she ended up doing a birthday fundraiser for us. So she's not even going to get a device from us. She already had one. I was just helping her, kind of clean it up for her son. And a lot of our fundraising comes from that, like parents I've helped online that have nothing to do with us, and others who got a device from us, but there's no requirement.
Social media is great, isn't it? I mean, the connecting of people all over.
It's amazing. Yeah. And we share on the Instagram side. So my Lily's Voice Instagram gets shared to Facebook. and I do share tips and tricks
I'm so
there
glad to
and
see.
share a lot about the kids. But then on my the Instagram I have for my daughter and is where I share a ton of how-tos and all sorts of AAC highlights, which isn't Lily's voice. It's called something else, which I'd be happy to give you if you want. It's called A Friend for Lilybug. And so we share a lot of information there. So
Lily Bug, like Lilly. I have to
hmm
say, I don't use Instagram, but that's just me. And I'm looking at where I could even you search here.
yeah.
I'm just thinking for
hmm
families that, so it's friend, what was it again?
A friend, A in the front for Lilybug right
Oh,
there.
there
It's at
she
the top.
is.
Yeah, so this account I've had since I was fundraising for my service dog, and usually it's where I'll share the most amount of information just because I have a lot of followers there who ask, and so if I can reach a wider audience, that's what I do.
Okay. So from here you go, like this
You
is,
can go through any of those, like the AAC how to that or that AAC. If you clicked on that right there, it's going to show you some stories I shared to help people figure out what to buy if they want to do it on their own, or links on where to get information, stuff like that. So, I mean, again, Instagram is just, as you can see, well, we share a lot.
no, and that's awesome. I always say it's regurgitating of information. That's how we get
hmm
stuff out there. And no, it's wonderful.
hmm
Well,
So,
anything else that you'd like to highlight? And
the only other thing I would say is, parents never be afraid to ask for anything. Like, we don't know what we don't know, so ask. Even if you don't know what an AAC is, or you think for some reason your child might not qualify for one, there's no such thing as a prerequisite for an AAC device. Anyone of any age should have a right to communicate and should have access to what they need. So start asking, start pestering, find a speech therapist, find a doctor, anyone. And if no one will help you, we are there to help you, and there are other amazing organizations that can help you. There's a couple parents I know who actually were gifted an AAC device from another organization, but they didn't get any training. So they came to me and said, "Will you train me?" Absolutely. I will give anyone information and have phone calls with anyone, because the more of our kids are equipped with communication, the better our society is going to be. So
I agree wholeheartedly. So, are there any questions before we end today? Okay. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Stephanie. Hold on one moment. I'd like to chat with you afterwards, though, but I
sure
do
thing.
want to let everyone know in 2023, we will be also continuing the grant workshop Wednesdays, the last Wednesday of every month. And January's will be on how to get a service animal. So hope to see you then.